All right, so here's what happened. I figured out the problem because it was showing that I had sound the whole time. Yesterday I tried something new. I tried recording to multiple channels so that my mic and the desktop sound, like the video sound, were on separate channels. But in doing so, it doesn't work that way for the stream. So apparently there was an issue with that, so I had to switch the channel back. So that was the issue. All right, so we're good now. All right, so anyway, I was saying thanks a lot, JD. JD's History Underground trying to find some obscure thing for me to respond to. It keeps freezing. Oh, boy. I wonder if it has something to do with the weather that we're having right now. I'm going to switch. We should be good now. Am I going to watch the MLS Cup later? No, because my team's not in it this year. They won it last year, so I'm a little bitter right now about them not being in it. All right, are we good now? Looks like we're still having issues. Sorry about all that, guys. Yeah, we're getting a bit of that system that came through the American South yesterday is hitting us right now. So it's super windy outside, but otherwise okay. Let me pull the chat up somewhere where I can see it a little easier. Can I do a poll on Ohio versus Michigan? I think most people watching probably don't care one way or the other about Ohio and Michigan, outside of Ohio and Michigan. Why am I so handsome? I don't know. You'd have to ask my wife. She'll be in soon. Magical Bucket, thank you. I appreciate that. How long should the videos be? I prefer shorter ones once we get to that point and we do some suggestions, just so we can do a variety of things. It's the storm that came from Missouri, yeah, and I know a lot of you guys were in the path of that. It looks like there's a town down in Kentucky that just pretty much got wiped off the map, so we're thinking of you folks in particular. Walsall, very cool. A distant cousin of mine who played forward for Aston Villa actually played for Walsall before that. So we'll do a little bit of Q&A time. I'll have the missus come in, and then we'll take some recommendations for some reaction videos. She said she'll be in just a minute. What's my favorite food? Chicken and dumplings from Cracker Barrel. And then probably pizza, yeah, pizza. My wife says it's pizza. Drunk history reactions. I might get, I don't know if there'd be a copyright issue with History Channel stuff. That's the only thing I'm worried about there. Audrey Hepburn says I look like Gregory Peck. I will take that. Saudi Arabia, very cool. React to my first reaction video. So it's funny, I was watching last night. My wife and I were watching the time she did a reaction. The man Dan, thank you, and welcome as a member. Oh, you've been a member for 5 months. Very cool. So we were watching one of my reactions. I was like, man, I talked way too long in between clips there. Rogue, favorite president, Theodore Roosevelt. I think JD, History Underground, agrees with me on that one. That's the most Midwest thing ever. Chicken and dumplings from Cracker Barrel. Favorite ice cream flavor? Rocky Road, yeah. My wife's in there answering the questions as I say them. She's in there trying to like make herself look presentable for the stream.
Sorry, today's a cleaning day.
She said it's a cleaning day. Who's the greatest general ever? Napoleon. No, I don't want that light on. What? Grab the folding chair. There's one over there. It's behind you. If I were USA president, what time would it be and why? Right after Lincoln was assassinated, I would take over instead of Andrew Johnson, and I would fix all the crap he screwed up.
Got room of it?
Yeah. You're just going to have to like scoot up against the well, yeah, but that's how the lighting works. All right, I'm going to make some room for the wife here. We'll see how it fits on the screen. Was I a youth pastor? Yes, I was for 14 years.
Oops.
So we'll see. I'll see where you're fitting once it shows up on the screen because I can't see it yet.
Oh, it's like, yeah, delayed.
Yeah, there's a delay.
You want this over there?
What's that? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so here's your chance, guys. Before you do any more questions for me, if you have any questions for Mrs. VTH, her name's Tara. So if you have any questions for her, now's your chance to ask her while she's here.
I'm going to bring my
Boy,
glasses,
that wind
so you
is
might
crazy.
have to read some of those for
Who's
me,
the
'cause they
greatest
vibrate.
governor of Ohio? Oh, boy, that's a tough one. I don't really have any particular favorites. Favorite obscure law. Yeah, here in right outside of us in Youngstown, Ohio, it's illegal to run out of gas.
And to get a ticket on Sundays on the way to church?
Well, in Ohio, technically there's a law still on the books in Ohio that you can't get a speeding ticket on your way to church. I've not tested that one yet, but...
You look like you're almost out. Come.
Oh, that's okay. That's
I
why
don't
I'm
want
leaning
you to
in.
be. Okay, I don't
all
want
right,
you
what's
to be
your
off the
favorite
street.
flavor of ice cream?
Probably butter pecan or strawberry. It changes.
Somebody asked how we met.
At the church.
At church, yeah. I was hired. Has he ever lied to us?
So you guys know. To me, yes.
How long have we been
Oh,
married? Oh, it's
okay.
yeah. We're having it's the wind.
Oh, no.
It'll be okay.
Uh-oh.
We will be married 20 years in September. Let's see. Who's the greatest presidential candidate? I was always curious what Ross Perot would have done.
They asked if the cops just don't pull us over on Sundays. We don't know. He doesn't speak.
I don't speed, so I haven't really tested it yet. Lane, thank you so much. I should react to one of John Hinckley's original songs. Yeah, you know what? After we did that video, a bunch of you told me that he has a YouTube channel where he does cover music. So, yeah, I checked it out. But, yeah, that might be interesting to do sometime.
Somebody asked me my favorite thing about you. He's fun. He's charming and he's fun. Always very witty. We have a good
Roberto,
time.
thank you, Roberto. Have I read anything about the American Fruit Company in Central America? No, but that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. Did Chris get you into history, or were you already interested?
No, I never liked history. I'm just now coming around last year or so.
She's coming around.
Yeah.
Why is your husband so handsome?
Isn't he though? Look how cute he is. He's very charming. It's his personality. I mean, he's gorgeous to look at anyway, but it's the charm.
Troy is in Mercer County, PA. Well, that's where we got
Awesome.
married. You were talking about marriage. We got married. I was a associate pastor at a church in Transfer, and that's where we got married. My daughter was born in Greenville, so Mercer County is like second home for us.
Is this a bad thing or a compliment? Do you cut your own hair?
No, I do not cut my own hair.
And I don't do it either. He gets it done.
History Matters. I don't know if I've done any of their stuff, but I'm subscribed to them. Yes, I will react to Bill Wirtz's History of Japan.
Greetings from Greece. How's the master's program going? I just finished my second to last semester, so I'm on a break now. I'm still doing my internship, and I will graduate in May.
She graduates in May. Yeah, we're excited.
So I'm in the school now. I'm ready to start my second internship. I'm loving it. Can't wait.
Sphere Cube, thank you. Appreciate that donation. He's a catch, someone said.
He is.
Oh, boy. Zach, thank you. Hi from your husband's favorite mod. Zach lives in Houston.
Hi, Zach.
He's been a mod on the channel for a long time now.
Awesome. We appreciate you.
Theodore Roosevelt was FDR's uncle-in-law. Eleanor Roosevelt was Theodore Roosevelt's niece. Addigator, the long video, so I put it on the list for later reaction. You should react to Internet Historian's video on Gentleman Pirate. Awesome. Thank you.
Somebody asked me what my favorite reaction video of yours is. I don't watch them all. Just because of school and kids and time and work, and I would like to, but when he shows them to me, they're all fantastic. What did we watch last night? Yesterday's was good. Whatever you showed me
we watched
night.
the one that was the one about the assassination of John Lennon.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her being having a background in being a school counselor, she is very interested in those ones where we talk about psychology and the mindset and things like that.
And I think I'm rubbing off on him. Because he starts to psychoanalyze things.
Mirror04,
Tell me
thank
what
you.
you think.
Appreciate that. Star Trek or Star Wars? Oh, that's a tough one because I like them
Wars.
both.
No, Star Wars for me.
Probably Star Wars. Greetings from Syria. Very cool.
Croatia? Wow.
Eric Hartman, yes, the all-time leading World War II ace for confirmed shoot-downs. Yeah, I have heard of Eric Hartman. We'll have to do a video on him sometime.
Collaborate on a video discussing history of
U.S. education. Interesting.
I like that.
We'll get to your requests for reactions here in a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah.
What else? Sweden. What's my favorite drink? Well, I don't know if JD from History Underground's still in here, but he got me drinking these Jocko Go's, and I love them. But my favorite probably is still Mountain Dew, unless you're talking alcohol, and then it's Amaretto Sour.
You don't drink much of it.
Very Long, Gorilla, and Ryan Bannon, thank you.
Are the kids into history?
A little bit.
And what are their interests?
My daughter's probably the most into history of the three. Nathan, she did not quit a counselor job to do her master's. She
quit my case management. I was working at a behavioral health, comprehensive behavioral health. And it was just too much. But yeah, no, they kind of correlated. But I was doing them simultaneously, and now that I'm into my internship, it just got too much. How old were you when you got married? You were, what, 25?
I was 25.
And I was 23.
She was 23, yeah. Somebody asked what made me want to do this history thing. I've loved history since I was 8 years old. What started it for me was they found the Titanic when I was 8, and I just was really intrigued by that, and I started reading all about the history of the Titanic. I know you watched that too. Mm-hmm. They did one on Lincoln, and I just would find myself reading all about them, and I've loved history ever since. Bezar Leem, the other checkmate Lincolnites, I will get to those, yes. Wesley, thank you. What would change if Zachary Taylor lived? I don't know, because I don't know if there was a lot of difference between him and John Tyler politically. That only thing that would change was John Tyler probably never would have been president. That's probably about it.
Pineapple on pizza? No!
Yeah, never.
Separately, yes. No, not on pizza.
Pineapple, I don't like pineapple,
so
period.
I don't know how you keep up with all this.
Yeah, well, I can't. And this is on a 30-second thing, so only people can only chat every 30 seconds.
You can't get to it all. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so we might be missing stuff, because there's like 400 people, and we're trying to catch them. Useful charts, yeah, we'll get to that. James Sapp, thank you. And
did you think the one above, too? I think we missed one.
Will you do Potential Histories, the Country Tank Meme series? I'll have to check that out.
Did you get the one before?
I don't know much about Australian history.
I don't know.
I did get Wesley,
okay,
yeah.
Just making sure. Sorry.
Favorite World War I general? Pershing. I know, I'm an American homer, but I like Pershing a lot.
Do your wife play some games? I think that means does.
I am not singing the Michigan fight song, no.
No!
Wait,
what?
but...
No!
Michigan's fight song and my wife's high school... No, it was my wife's high school fight song were the same.
Yeah. I play some, like, Risk.
I teach her too well. What do I think of Charles V's chin? Enormous and the product of inbreeding.
Mrs. VT. University has a great PhD program. Yeah, sorry. If I do my PhD, it's not going to be there.
Fusion Clover, thank you. Been a fan since your Ultimate General Union series. My Civil War. Antietam for the Confederates because it's super hard. And on the Union side, I like the Battle for Washington because it's just, or not Washington, for Richmond. It's just insane. Elijah, thank you. Love the channel from Oregon. React to Happy. I will do more Epic History TV. What are my favorite sports? Soccer's my favorite, but soccer, football, basketball, baseball, in that order probably. Ever thought of doing a video on the Zodiac Killer? Yeah, we could do that because it seems like they're pretty popular. The
interesting.
The ones on crime. It'll go. It'll be fine. My favorite European monarch, Edward III. I do play Hearts of Iron 4th. Am I a full-time pastor? No. I'm part-time as a pastor, mostly just Sunday mornings. This is full-time for me now.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you to all you guys for making that happen.
Is that your wife? No, I'm his girlfriend.
Mr. Beep, what's up? Mr. Beep lives in Alliance. He's real close.
Yes, I'm his wife, but also his girlfriend.
Yes, she's both. I do not have separate wife and girlfriend. No. Favorite Prussian king, Frederick the Great.
All right, what else do you want to know? Do we plan to have one more child? Only if we adopt.
Only if we adopt. That's the only way that's happening. Yeah. No, probably not.
We do not have room for more children. We always wanted 4. It's probably not in God's plans, but yeah.
Ever think of coming to Belgium? This one wants to go to Belgium even more than I do.
Is that where Brussels is?
That's where Brussels is.
I want to go to Brussels.
She wants to go to Brussels. And thank you, Charlotte. And thank you, insert alias here. Has there ever been a house without primogeniture? Yes.
What's that?
Primogeniture is an inheritance system of inheritance.
Oh, do you have a video that I can watch and learn more about it?
I do not, but we could do something about that.
Maybe you should. Teach me about it.
He likes baseball the least because he's a Guardians fan. Can't blame him. All right, Zach, thanks.
No, we like baseball the least because it takes like 50 hours sometimes. Every time I get suckered into a World Series, they go into like extra innings, and it just,
That's a drink for mentioning anything Ohio related.
They're funny.
Ethan says Grant is the greatest human to ever be president.
I
would say yes, but I'd put him up there with Jimmy Carter.
How many drinking games do you all have? Because I keep hearing about these, which is funny.
Anytime I mention one of my ancestors, anytime I mention something just before the video mentions it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Those are the two. And then I think probably anytime I mention Ohio.
Wasn't there another word you used to have too?
I don't think so.
How do historians verify if historical events and people exist? I like it.
You have to, I mean, that's a tough one because some people that we kind of accept as being historical, we don't know for sure. You just have to go with the sources, and then you have to decide whether or not you can trust the source. What is the bias of the source? What purpose do they have in writing? You know, Julius Caesar, for example, I use his example all the time. He's the only source we have for a lot of historical events. But he's obviously biased. He's trying to write a story that makes him look really good. And so he's going to inflate numbers. He's going to make people sound better than they were, stuff like that. So it's all just kind of how truthful are the sources, really, and how close to when the events happen are the sources. So if you have somebody writing 1,000 years after an event, and that's the best source you have, I'm not sure it's true.
You're talking about me. My nose is itching.
Joseph, thank you. Appreciate that. Do I like Brussels sprouts? No. Favorite Bible verse? Oh, that's an interesting one. Joshua, thank you. And I'll get to your question in just a second. We'll do a couple more for the misses here. Favorite Bible verse? I don't remember the exact verse, but there's one in Philippians that I use a lot. I don't remember the exact. It's Philippians chapter 4. It's where the Apostle Paul talks about all the reasons why he has to be confident in his own.
This is because your series you're working on. This is not
your
favorite
that
verse.
is one of my favorites.
All right, go ahead.
And he says, whatever was to my profit, I now consider lost for the sake of Christ. Whatever, what is more, I consider all things rubbish that I may gain Christ and be found in Him. So in other words, trusting in something that has nothing to do with Him.
I've been looking for these. I ordered these. Okay, not to cut you off, but anyway, squirrel. But also the one about preach and use words if necessary.
That is not a Bible verse.
That was you that said something about.
I like that quote, but it's not in the Bible.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
Edit
that out.
All right. We can't. It's
no,
a live stream.
I know. I'm kidding.
I got to get back to. There was a question.
So many. Slow down.
I have to get back to. Here it is. Joshua Griffin, thank you. And you ever think about talking about how underrated legacy of James Madison? Yeah, I mean Madison was an incredibly influential founding father for sure. What denomination? Non-denominational Christian.
Mrs. VTH favorite trip with Chris. Like vacation or quick trip. I liked this when we were dating. Are you laughing? You have one? Oh, I thought you had. I surprised him with a trip to an Indians game when they were very good. And he thought we were going to Legacy Village to go shopping. And I think that was the parking deck in the same...
It wasn't. It was Tower City.
Tower City. And we
parked in the parking deck that connects both to a shopping mall and to where the Indians play. And I had no idea we were going to the Indians game.
Do you remember what you said? You said, man, that pizza from the stadium sounds so good. And I'm like, well, let's go get some. And you're like, but you have to have a ticket. I'm like, yeah. And you're like, but you don't understand. You have to have a ticket. It's in the game. I'm like, yeah, so? And he's like, what do you mean? And I pulled out the tickets. I'm like, let's go. And he's like, what? And then I had his like jersey and like a hat and like all his Indian stuff. And we changed and we went. And it was way better than shopping, huh?
Yeah. We went to Hawaii on our honeymoon. We're talking about maybe going back.
Oh, that was fun.
But yeah, that was a fun trip. Favorite news channel? I don't watch the news.
They all suck now.
I watch the local news, but that's about it. I can't deal with the news.
I listen to
I get my news online. I don't watch the news. Favorite Holy Roman Emperor? I don't know if I have one. Charlemagne.
Ooh. All right, what else you want to know about this guy?
Right. Before I get any questions for her before she takes off? And then we'll do some reactions. He said you called them Indians. How dare you? That's what they were called at the time. They were the Cleveland Indians.
I got to learn not to do that.
Well, that's what they were at the time, so it's okay.
When and if Browns beat the Steelers, what's it say?
Does HGG go in little man's timeout?
No, I feel bad because they've lost for so many years during our relationship. So I kind of
beat them in the playoffs last year.
I feel like maybe they need this, so let them have their time. It's okay.
Yeah. Morgan, thank you.
I'm actually really enjoying watching them. I like watching Hunt. He's good.
Kareem Hunt, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's so good.
And he's from Cleveland.
Yeah, so they can have it.
Morgan, thank you. And yes, I will get to Mr. Beat's video about Missouri and Kansas. After I reacted to his video recently about John Brown, he commented and said, hey, come out and we'll visit the John Brown sites together. So we do have a collab coming in February where we're going to be doing a new tier ranking, both of us, of presidents. And we're going to try and convince each other why the other one's wrong about their ranking. So that'll be a lot of fun. That was his suggestion. I thought it was a good idea.
Ryder, yes, we love Hamilton the musical. And actually, I was not looking forward to seeing that. But as my husband and my daughter taught me all about it, and then we went to see it, it was amazing. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, his writing is impeccable.
I knew you were going to say that. Thank you, Lane. And Napoleon's Marshals Part 5. I'm definitely going to get to those, but I don't know if I'll do it in the stream. Expectations for the Soccer World Cup next year. England's going to win.
That's just what you want.
I want to see the United States at least make it to the quarterfinals, and I think they will.
You think?
Yeah, but I think England's going to win it.
Yes, you listen to podcasts.
I do listen to podcasts. Dan Carlin's my favorite as far as podcasts go. Do I know who Laurie Torney is? Yeah, in fact, I visited his grave at Arlington a couple weeks ago, and once I'm done with my Gettysburg series, you're going to see my videos from Arlington. You'll see my visit to his grave. He's buried there.
Do we plan to go to what's this?
Qatar to watch the World Cup? No, but it's going to be in the U.S. In 2026, and my son graduates high school that year, so I've already promised him that I would take him to a World Cup match when it's here.
Are you going to do history on location about the War of 1812?
Yes, I will definitely get to some War of 1812
like
sites.
Yeah.
Did I ever consider joining the military?
Yes. I told him no. He wanted to be a chaplain.
I wanted to be a chaplain,
I said, I can't take it. I appreciate that there are people that do that, but I think I probably talked him out of it, and it just wasn't in our timing. He probably would have pushed a little harder. I might have allowed. Not that I get to decide.
I had young kids at the time, and we were involved in Iraq, but I did look into being a chaplain. I could have gone in. I think they told me I'd go in as a captain, and would have been a pretty good pay. But obviously deploying and things like that was not in our current situation. So, but yeah, I did look into it. Derek, thank you. Not a reaction, but have you ever heard of Price's 1864 raid? Yes, and yeah, that would be an interesting one to do a video on. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about what's going on with Russia and NATO right now, but I try to avoid talking about modern stuff too much on the channel.
Yeah.
Weird history rabbit holes you fell into while researching.
Ooh,
all the time. It happens.
All the time. So if we watch a movie, he has to do all the research about it, even if it's just like a fictional one based on that. And like he'll spend like a week obsessing about all the details of he's a thirst for knowledge, and it's rubbing off.
It is. She's reading now. She never used to read books.
Well, I have to for school. I don't usually read for pleasure, I'll tell you that. But now I am. So on my off time, I read more books about counseling. So,
Have I done a video on the beaches of Normandy on location? No, but it's coming this year. Probably next late summer, early fall.
Somebody asked if I don't know which one of us enjoy the study of memory. I haven't looked into it too much, but it would be interesting. Oh, we're a beautiful couple. You're so sweet.
Blah, blah. Thank you. And yes, if you've been around long, you'll hear me talk about that movie. I love the movie, The Death of Stalin. It actually is a lot more historically accurate than you might think.
See this one. What is your oldest ancestral link?
I have a theoretical line back to Adam and Eve, but obviously you can't document all that stuff. Lots of lines back to Charlemagne, as a lot of people would, but those are probably the best ones. My closest really famous people would be Daniel Boone as an uncle through both my mother and father, Pocahontas. 3 of my 4 grandparents are descended from Pocahontas, and then King James IV of Scotland is like my 15th great-grandfather. Son of a birch, thank you. No, but we will definitely talk about the Jacobites.
Dogs over cats.
Yes, definitely dogs over cats.
Tara, have I finished my Christmas shopping? I have.
Steve's in the UK.
Oh, hi, Steve.
Yep.
Oh, that's who it was, yeah.
Yeah, that was Steve.
I have not put the decorations up. That's what I'm doing
today.
No,
today's decoration day. When the stream's over.
Up, yeah.
So we might make the stream go a while so I don't have to go help carry stuff.
I am usually the one that decorates the day after Thanksgiving, that whole weekend. However, our son's birthday party this year was that weekend, and I didn't want the house to be a mess. So this is the first we've had a chance to do it.
We've been married. We'll be married 20 years in September. And I don't think the U.S. is going to boycott the Olympics. The athletes are still going to compete. So, favorite empire, the British Empire.
Hello from Ireland.
Michael, yes. Indian history, yes, we will. Top 5 presidents by characteristics. Boy, there's so many different characteristics. You'd be surprised Berrio wasn't portrayed accurate. Yeah, I know. Berrio was a pretty major scumbag.
My birthday's in January. Send cheesecake.
Send cheesecake.
Not that I need any, but...
All right, last chance for any questions for the missus.
We met at church. We kind of already
met at church. Yep. Favorite historical.
And we were both.
Oh, good.
I'm sorry. We were both dating other people, not interested in one another. We became friends first, and then God had plans for us, so that we fought every step of the way.
What do we think about Amish food?
Oh, it's fantastic.
There's this little place called the Dutch House that's about a half hour from us, and it's really good. Yeah,
and probably really fattening too, because they use a lot of wet lard.
Who do I think's the killer? My number one suspect is Kosminski.
Oh, what's your favorite memory of each other? Ooh. As you look at me. Ooh, I gotta think about that.
We have seen Chernobyl. It was really good. Cheesecake, cold or warm, someone said.
Cold? Who eats warm cheesecake?
Who eats cheesecake?
What? This is the problem we have.
All right, I'll get to your question about Belgium in just a second. Favorite memory of each other? For me, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to go too much into details about this, but we separated for a while. About 9 years ago?
9 years ago,
9 years ago. Totally on me that happened, and totally on her that it worked out.
You got to go on a midlife crisis once in a while.
And
why is that a favorite memory? This is horrible.
It's a favorite memory because when I had given up on our marriage, this one didn't. And we're still together because of it. So that's my favorite.
That was
favorite
not my doing. That was
memory.
God's doing. I think my favorite memory is probably when we were at Alive and we were both youth pastors and our kids were there. Actually, it might have been the year before. And we were sitting under the stars at the picnic table and we just kind of were talking about our future and kind of really knew that God was bringing us together. And that was kind of when we kind of both felt that we were probably the other's lifelong partner.
Yep.
So.
And now I'm stuck with her.
Yeah. This is so cute. Poor Jason Lovett.
Any plans for a video with Mr. Terry? Yeah, he and I have talked about that. I need to get back to him. We're talking about doing like a meme stream joint kind of thing. I saw a question back up here.
Warm cheesecake.
Oh, are you a counselor at your kid's school? No.
No.
It's she's at another school in a neighboring district.
Interesting enough, how many years ago? 8 years? No, more than that. I used to be the majorette advisor at the high school. I don't know. That was a long time ago when Rachel was first born. So probably 14 for about 7 years. So now full circle. Now I'm at the intermediate school, and then going to elementary in January. So yeah.
Who eats cheesecake? JD says.
Me,
what the heck? Did he actually say that?
He doesn't like that.
No, he does. He's saying, "What the heck? What did he actually say that? Who eats cheesecake?"
JD. Yeah, we get each other. Is that who said it?
Yeah, that's JD.
Okay. Hi, JD. I like your videos.
Yeah, she likes your videos too.
I watch them.
Speaking of JD, guys, I'm going to have a top 10 my favorite history-related YouTube channels this week. Yeah. Little premonition. He's going to be in the top 10. So
he's Chris's hero. Or I don't know. What is it? You look up to him.
I do. I've learned a lot from him about how to make better on-location videos. And he's responsible. He's responsible for this.
Good guy, all-around good guy.
Yeah, Sebastian Finney. First thing that comes to mind when you think of each other. And thank you, Gunny. I appreciate that.
Aww.
First thing that comes to mind when we think of each other. Intense.
Intense?
She's a little extra at times.
I'm passionate about things. If I love something,
yeah.
I'm passionate about it. He's charming, and like I said, always like life of the party, fun to be around. More so out in public than at home. He likes the crowd, I guess.
What food do you love that he hates? Pretty much everything.
Oh, I eat everything. I love seafood.
There's a lot. I'm a really picky eater.
Very picky. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you keep saying you're going to do something, and you guys got to get together.
Mr. Terry and I,
yeah.
I need to get on Discord and respond to his message.
History, you're doing collabs with JD, too, at some point?
Blue
right?
Wave, yeah. We're working on that. JD and I are probably going to be in Normandy together next year, so...
Wife goals for real. I'm trying to get like you. What's that mean?
Maybe I can talk JD into taking a week off and going with me to France in February to World War I sites. But he's got it, he teaches and all that stuff. So, is this my wife? Yes, this is my wife. You two are definitely soulmates. Someone said.
Hey, it takes a lot of work. Marriage is not easy. You got to work at it, and that's what we did.
Yep.
And
does she like the musical Hamilton? Yes.
Love it. Any musical. Most musicals are pretty fun, even when they're lame.
All right.
Are you making me leave?
No, you don't have to leave. You can stay if you want. I just didn't know if you had other stuff to do.
I do have other stuff.
All right, that's fine.
But this is fun. But if you want to talk about other stuff,
867-5309. Favorite World War I General Pershing.
Oh, here's a. Did you know I cannot sing, but he sings. I know you know he can sing amazingly, but I cannot sing, so I'm not allowed to sing.
Hey Dermot, heads up. Nobody else saw the message, but Zach is one of the mods, so in fact he is superior to you in this situation. So it's not all, we have mods for a reason, Dermot, and
I missed it, so that's good, or you would have got yelled at from the moon. If money were no issue,
where would you travel
together? Brussels, Ireland, Scotland. Obviously he wants to go to England. Go ahead, you want to add?
That's a good start.
You guys should get married. Okay, maybe we'll do it again. We are married.
Is this my second wife I've been talking to us? I've only had one.
Well, we should clarify. When we were separated, we weren't divorced.
No, we didn't get divorced.
We just lived separate. Yeah. Sometimes you need a break. And that was probably like when our parents was... Listen, separate beds is like, not that we have them, but sometimes I need them when he snores and when I snore and vice versa. So
Thoughts on the vegan teacher?
What's that?
I've seen a couple of her videos. My daughter showed her to me. I couldn't take it. Couldn't take it. Have Rachel show you. Insert alias here. Thanks. Yes, Thomas Seymour is kind of sus. No, it's not history.
Oh, okay. Unless he thinks cheesecake is bad, in which case he isn't a fan. Northern Lights would be amazing. Oh, yeah.
I was in Alaska 4 years ago, but they weren't visible at the time. It was too cloudy.
We should get married a second time. We might renew vows.
Yeah.
If he's lucky.
It's coming. Do I ever plan to visit Moscow? That'd be cool. That'd be a lot of fun. I'd enjoy that.
We do have 3 children. Our daughter is 16. Our sons are 14 and 9.
Favorite World War II generals, Patton? As a general, not as a human being?
Yes, I like jazz. I don't know about you.
Where would I visit in Asia?
Not to cut you off.
Yeah.
When you're done with that one.
Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah, you did some stuff in
I've
New
done
York City.
a little bit in New York City, but I'll do more. Japan probably in Asia would be number 1 for me.
It's history, no love. What? What's that mean?
I don't know.
Oh, we're not allowed to talk about love?
Oh, okay. What NBA team do I support? Cleveland Cavaliers.
Favorite entertainer? Ooh.
Where's that one?
Alex Crabtree? Favorite entertainer.
Favorite entertainer.
Okay, so...
Sabaton.
Yes. Oh, yes. Put on an awesome concert. Prior to that, in person, Garth Brooks. Whew, I saw him when I was 19.
Brooks is good, yeah.
I've obviously seen him since, but his concert, there's just so much energy. Oh, my. But Sabaton definitely held it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were entertaining. They were great.
And no, you won't be hearing me talk about Donald Trump. Sorry. Who's your favorite president?
I don't have a favorite president.
Have we both seen Phantom of the Opera? Yeah, that was actually my first Broadway show. We went to see Phantom together.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Was George Patton not a good person? It's complicated, but there are certainly aspects of his character that are not to be admired, yes.
Wesley asked how many books you have. Thousands! It's taking up my whole basement, and the sad part is I probably bought him some more for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Favorite NFL team? Browns, Steelers.
Yeah. Which is Tara's country that is not... Which is Tara's
What
country?
would be your country that would not be the USA? Like your favorite country outside the USA?
I don't know, because I've only been to Costa Rica.
And Honduras and Belize and Mexico.
Oh, yeah, but that was on a cruise. And anytime
Yeah.
I go on a cruise, that's like, listen, I want to be cruising all the time. So that would be great. So anywhere I could go on a boat is good.
So I have heard of the Battle of the Golden Spurs. So let's do I promised a couple reactions, like live reactions. So.
Oh, let's do it. Okay, and then I'll leave.
Right.
Can I stay for one? 'Cause I'm having fun.
So throw out your ideas for a reaction we can do real quick. Preferably on a channel I'm familiar with.
Uh-oh.
You can join in, sure.
I probably won't know anything.
Yes, I definitely want to go to Sweden. I have some roots in Sweden. And thank you for that.
Is that rare? How do you say it, Rary?
Yeah. I love the Steelers, oh boy.
Yeah, they're not doing so good this year, man. Sorry.
History of K-pop in 20 minutes. Hamilton, love Hamilton. I did a whole 2-hour stream on Hamilton. People from Ohio are everywhere. We are like crippling depression.
Wow. Yeah, that's because of our weather. We have no sun. Oh, we had sun yesterday. It was kind of nice. Do you have a sauna in your home?
No, that'd be awesome, though. We do want to get a hot tub, though.
I have a jet tub that's about on its last leg, but, you know, it's kind of nice.
I think we did Hastings by History March, didn't we? Maybe not. Extra credits, World War I, the Christmas Truce. Okay, that'll be fun.
That sounds good. I know
Let's
a little
do
bit
that,
about that.
because you know a little bit about that one.
Anything I say that's incorrect, please do not hold me accountable for, and I'll try to not add too much.
All right, here we go. So, looks like somebody was watching this one. It wasn't me.
Christmas Eve,
I think one time you talked to
1914.
me last night.
The war was supposed to be over by now.
Turn it up.
I can't turn it up with the microphone. Pick it
Can you
up.
hear it?
Yeah, they can hear it fine.
This little holiday special is brought to you by World of Tanks. Use the invite code ARMISTICE if you're a new player who wants to check out the game. The Christmas Truce is one of the most poignant events of the First World War. A time when men rose up above the madness of the conflict and
stream.
for just a moment saw each other
Buy
as
us a hot
fellow
tub, we'll do
humans. This is an event that definitely did happen. Thousands of men laid down arms in the truce, but a century of retellings has also kind of sanded down its rough edges and oversimplified its messy reality.
Did he
Indeed,
just
this
say
event
oversimplified?
He did.
Oh, so yeah, this is one of those things where we were talking earlier about the importance of going to the source. And who are the best sources in this case? The men on the ground.
Yep.
Number one, because the generals didn't like this. They didn't like the fact that there were truces breaking out. There was no official truce. Like, this wasn't some, like, thing that came down from high command. There will be a ceasefire for 24 hours. They didn't want it to happen because they knew
The repercussions.
if these guys met each other and realized, hey, Fritz over there, as they called the Germans a lot of times, is a human being.
Real person, yep.
And he's no different than I am, then it's going to make it a lot harder to shoot. It's already hard to shoot at another human being. Now you add this layer into it, and they knew what a mess that would be. So yeah, you're not going to get that from the official records, so you get it from the soldiers on the ground. And I think the best source are the letters home. Guys wrote letters home about what happened in their sector. And so we've got, for example, 30 different people who wrote about the football games, the soccer games that broke out. So we know these things happen. We know the scores of some of those official matches that took place because guys wrote home and said, "Oh, we won 4-3," or "They won 2-3," stuff like that. And so those are the sources in this case.
Someone said you forgot to pause. I don't know what that means. I don't know if you need it right here. You guys forgot.
Oh, don't forget to pause. Yeah, we did.
Whatever that means.
Ronald Reagan. Should Germany have won World War I? They could have, but should they have? I don't know. The world would be very different if they had.
It wasn't just the result of pure human spirit and holiday cheer. It was a host of unique factors that drove these enemies to spontaneously declare peace in no man's land. And really, it may not have been all that spontaneous. Small armistices were happening every day. As frontline troops became accustomed to the rhythms of trench warfare, they learned that looking the other way now and then could bring a shred of safety and calm to their lives.
Before or after the game?
Before this was before the official truce.
Checking.
So yeah, I mentioned this in my reaction to Sabaton's song about this. There were truces that were happening for months. You got to remember, if you think about the nature of World War I at this point, they've settled into trench warfare. Some of these trenches are hundreds of yards apart, sometimes further. When there's an attack across no man's land, and then you retreat back to your trench, now your buddies that have been killed and wounded are out there in the middle of the field. And the reason there's so many bodies that were never recovered or never identified is because a lot of those guys were out there for months. And so there would be these spontaneous truces to allow for opportunities to go bury the dead, grab the wounded,
compassion.
things like that. It was just, compassion, exactly. So this was not a new thing.
These ate meals at the same time, which became a daily ceasefire. Patrols frequently ignored each other, adopting a live and let live attitude. Troops often shouted to each other across the lines. After all, the autumn battles had passed, and both sides were waiting out the winter. In reality, the weather was the primary enemy for both sides. The high water table at Flanders meant that the trenches were always filling with water, sometimes collapsing and burying men inside.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Isn't in fighting, wouldn't that be, if you're the better team, so to speak, you take advantage of that?
You would think, but at this point they've been fighting for months, and nobody really wants to do anything. All you're really worried about is getting home.
Okay.
You're a soldier on the ground in the trench. You're worried about staying warm, staying dry, having enough to eat, and getting home alive. You're not worried about whether or not you take the next trench.
So is that typical in different kind of battle, or no?
This war is unique because there wasn't a lot of movement. I mean, you basically have a trench line that goes all the way from the English Channel all the way down to Switzerland, and men in trenches all the way along the line, and you have occasional movement here and there. Now they move the front line forward 100 yards. They call it the price of a mile because the number of lives it took just to take a mile of ground.
Wow.
So people were in the same areas. The front lines changed very little over the course of 4 years.
I'm sorry, you were going to say something before I asked that, though.
I was just going to say, just imagine what this must have been like. Living in a dirt trench with, every time it rains, you get several inches of water. You're living in mud for months on end. You're constantly being shelled by artillery. Your buddies are being killed and left, and you know that's what's going to happen to you. Sometimes guys die in the trench, and they're right there with you, and you basically have to bury them because you can't get out of the trench to go bury them. Just a mess.
Soldiers leaned against the walls to sleep, trying to keep themselves out of the wet. Food supplies had to be hung up on dugout ceilings. And that winter had been particularly miserable. Weeks of rain flooded the dugouts. The mud pulled men down like quicksand.
What that does for your
Now,
psyche.
British Field Marshal Sir John French had noticed the hands-off attitude his men were developing towards the enemy, and so he ordered attacks in late December to boost morale. And this resulted in heavy British losses.
Think about that. He ordered attacks to boost morale. I want you to go attack those trenches in the winter in these awful conditions. And we'll talk about this when I go to France and talk about World War I. When the Germans, or when the British attacked the German trenches, somebody mentioned that the Germans had better trenches than the British did. They were deeper, they were better fortified, they were better kind of held up. And the British very often carried all their supplies with them because they were expecting to occupy those trenches and stay there. So they carried all their equipment with them. They carried their bedding with them. They had like 60 pounds of equipment to the point where they couldn't run across the trenches. They had to walk. And so you're walking across an open field in front of machine gun fire and watching all your buddies. You know, I was watching about the Somme yesterday, and you have these entire units, 800-man battalions, where you had like 20 guys left at the end of it.
Oh, yeah, you were saying
Incredible.
Possible fraternization over the holiday, he issued orders that no unofficial armistice would be tolerated. Morale was much better over in the German trenches. After all, they were winning. But many men were also experiencing their first holiday away from home. Knowing that this would be difficult, commanders brought Christmas to the trenches, shipping thousands of presents to the field. Each man received a gift from the Kaiser. Cigar boxes for NCOs, a pipe with the Crown Prince on it for the ranks.
What if you don't smoke?
Yeah.
Here's your box of cigars from the Kaiser.
But at the time, more people did.
Oh, a lot of people did.
I get it, but yeah.
And a pipe for the officers. Yeah.
You barter it give it to your buddy and ask for some of his.
Yeah, I guess you trade it for something else.
Send it back home. I don't know.
For their part, received a brass box from Princess Mary filled with cigarettes, tobacco, a Christmas card, and sweets. And then there were personal packages. Enterprises sprang up on the home front, offering family members a chance to send gift boxes to the troops.
Real quick, work gamer. So Rosavan says, "Is that my wife?" Yes, this is my
Yes.
wife. Then you become a smoker. Spooky Boy says.
We should have asked who everybody thought I was before we introduced.
So, work gamer, how dangerous were the gases? At first, dangerous, but pretty quickly, both sides. There were no gas attacks yet. Gas hadn't been introduced at the point we're talking about right now. That really first comes into play at Ypres, up in Belgium, in 1915. But both sides pretty quickly adjusted and got gas masks and protection, so the gas didn't have a huge impact on the war.
British soldiers received plum puddings and 1,000-count boxes of cigarettes.
Jeez.
German and Austrian troops were bombarded with chocolate and salami and cognac. Both sides received winter clothing. In truth, though, the gifts were kind of a nuisance.
Like, where do you put all
there
it?
was nowhere to put it all.
Yes.
Soldiers didn't have a place to store 1,000 extra cigarettes. But that Christmas
Those are gonna
Eve
get wet.
delivered a true gift. The rain stopped,
Hey.
and the trenches drained. Dry cold froze the mud into a hard surface, almost like a floor. Snow dusted the countryside. That afternoon, the gunfire dwindled, and in some sectors it stopped entirely. The weather just seemed too nice for it. The Germans, stuffed with Christmas chocolate and cheered by the weather, started putting lit Tannenbaum up on their trench parapets. And then...
Christmas tree.
Where are they getting Christmas trees?
Somebody said, "You sure that's not my mistress?" I do not have a mistress, as Sarah mentioned. She said, "I guarantee he has no mistress." Thank you, Sarah. That is correct. 1,000 cigarettes in 1919 is still nothing compared to one modern American spirit, someone
So
says.
where are they getting it? They're just cutting them down? Like, we got time to go cut down
Well, yeah,
trees?
cut down trees. I mean, you're going to do anything you can. I mean, these guys, for most of these guys, it's probably their first Christmas ever away from home. Because this is the first
Okay.
Christmas of the war. They're missing home. They're in this
They've been there
horrible
for a while.
place. So they're trying to bring any sense of home to the
Okay.
front lines that they can.
The German line started singing. Over on the British parapets, watchmen of the Scots Guard saw lines of lights along the enemy trench. At first, they suspected an attack, but then they heard an ethereal sound drifting across
Okay,
no
so
man's
pause this.
land.
So how often after this was this a strategy later to try to be like, hey, we're going to get along, fooled you, and then...
It didn't.
No.
This was the only time there was
Really?
a real Christmas truce, because after it happened, the leading the generals, the commanders on high, were very strict about it and threatened pretty severe punishment if anybody did it again.
Well, no,
So,
but I'm wondering if anybody would use it as a strategy to take out the opponent, fooling them that...
there were times that people would especially the Germans would sometimes kind of fake like a ceasefire.
Oh, okay. And did it ever work to their advantage?
I don't know that it ever made any
Not
big
that work,
difference.
okay.
No.
I gotcha.
I can see guys chain smoking 3 cigarettes at a time. Germans know how to do Christmas. Yes, they do.
Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht. The original Austrian version of Silent Night.
It was written in
Oh!
Yes.
Your German's rubbing off on me!
Stille Nacht.
Although that's pretty
German.
cool.
Silent Night was
Pretty
written
easy.
in German originally. I
think I did know that.
And Sarah says, "I'm stupid excited to be here for a live one." Well, we're stupid excited to have you,
Yes.
Sarah. This channel is 7% women, the audience. So anytime
Well, you
we
gotta
have
bump it
somebody,
up.
yeah. So we
And as handsome as he is, I cannot believe there are not more women watching this. Although maybe it's down today because I'm here. Maybe I shouldn't have...
No. Beer for Christmas, beer for Easter, beer for Oktoberfest, the Germans, yeah.
Oh.
Stille Nacht, that's right. I love him speaking German. It's not bad. Also sounds odd enough to be funny.
Oh, no!
I don't know if they're talking about me. They're probably talking about him.
Oh, as I say.
You'll hear me speak more German once I learn more German. I'll learn some more German
it-
before we go.
What is Eli learning?
Eli's learning German,
I
yeah.
think he's
Our 9-year-old
farther
son knows more German than I do, yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah,
listening
he's
to
good
him.
at it.
He's teaching himself.
Guards Officer Lieutenant Sir Edward Hulse decided that they should drown this out with their own carol. The sides went back and forth,
sorry, there's
but
competition.
soon the competition merged into a harmony
drum
of
wars.
Good King Wenceslas
We're a
and
band.
Auld Lang Syne. The men began shouting Christmas greetings across the line, jokingly at first. A few even stepped out to talk. Hulse didn't know it, but the same thing was happening up and down the entire British line.
Oh, okay.
Agreements formed. In some sectors, the officers met at the wire and shook hands, agreeing to cease hostilities the next day. In other areas, the ranks took the lead, Germans shouting across no man's land, English. Tomorrow,
Risk
if you know
you take
shoot,
to
we know shoot.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, think about who was the first guy who stepped out of his trench. I think it was a German, actually, was the first one, at least in one sector of the line. Because you're taking a big risk that somebody's just going to pop you. Even if after that they stop. But the first guy coming out.
Wait, what's a grand strategy game? I've never seen a female in a grand strategy game.
Grand strategy is like a lot of the games I play, like where you're controlling a whole country in a war.
So
and
risk
things like
isn't
that.
enough of a
Risk is kind of grand strategy, but it's not a computer
Don't
game.
worry, I can get there when I have some more free time.
There, Pedascus just put the whole verse of Silent Night, Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht, Alles Schlaft, Einsam Wacht, Nursad. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the rest of that.
You know how they have those big poker tournaments? Do they have that for strategy games?
Like tournaments?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Win money?
I think they probably
Listen,
do.
I want you to teach me, and then I am going to be the ruler and win. Wouldn't that be a fun,
That would be fun,
over
yeah.
the summer
Good way to
maybe
make
when I'm
money.
off? No, it would just be fun, just to be like first female, I'm sure it's happened.
232,000 subs, 7% women equals 16,000 female subs, and no mistress. Pretty good.
Oh, I'd kill him.
Yeah, no. And here's the thing. We have a neighbor who is very... We love her, but she pays attention. Let's say that.
Oh, he would never get away with
So
it.
even if I had the slightest inkling when everybody's away, which I don't, within 30 seconds of me bringing a woman into this house, my wife would be getting messages about it.
I think you had a lot of thinking to do when you weren't here.
Yeah.
And realized a lot of
At
things.
times, it was just one brave soul walking into no man's land, waving a newspaper. These overtures were extremely dangerous. Though peace was breaking out in certain areas, it didn't happen everywhere. One British regiment responded to German caroling with a machine gun blast. Some unarmed soldiers were gunned down trying to broker this holiday armistice. But in most sectors, the ceasefire held. This truce mostly happened between German and British units. The French and the Belgians, whose countries were under German occupation, were less inclined.
Yeah, that's an important point to make. The British, nobody's invaded their country. The Germans have occupied most of Belgium and a good chunk of northeastern France, especially the Belgians, who have had a lot of civilians killed by the Germans. They weren't too inclined to be friendly with German soldiers. The French, who have been invaded and a lot of their country occupied, not too inclined. It's kind of like in World War II, how the Germans and the Soviets did not quite have the friendly nature that the Americans and the Germans did. So absolutely true.
There were agreements to bury the dead and cease hostilities, but not as much fraternization. Yet a Bavarian unit held fire during a French mass, and both sides halted fighting long enough for a guest, a soloist from the Paris Opera, to make a performance.
Oh, really?
British
They brought this
Indian
guy
troops who were a bit unfamiliar.
It feels to me like
This was
like opera wasn't the thing for the soldier on the front lines, but I don't know.
Well, maybe because if it was in a certain language, the other side wouldn't hear it. So it was something that would relate to both because nobody really
that's
knows
true,
what they're
yeah.
saying for opera.
Yeah.
So maybe it was well thought out here.
Hey, French guy here, does the people in the U.S. still think we are surrendering cowards? I never thought that. The way the French fought during World War I was fantastic, and so I think of you guys as that rather than the people who surrendered in World War II. Guten Tag, wie geht's? Thomas Reynolds says.
With this whole Christmas deal, saw the lit German trees and thought of their own holiday of Diwali. They held fire, but also held position, until some Germans tempted them out of the trenches with cigars.
The Christmas gifts!
The
There's
Kaiser-
my Christmas gifts!
I got some of the Kaiser cigars here. Come on over. We've got like 10,000 of these things.
And then what?
Soon the men were smoking together on the parapet. That Christmas night, the troops slept in sublime quiet. Christmas Day dawned, bright and cold, the sky clear for the first time in weeks. To their shock, British troops looked across no man's land to see the Germans walking around on their parapets. Such a thing was suicidal in daylight, and that gesture of trust, more than anything, lured a few British out. It was heaven to at last stand up straight and walk on solid earth. Some had ventured into no man's land on Christmas Eve, but in daylight it was impossible to ignore the bodies lying between the trenches.
So think about this. And yes, Dion Smith, as soon as humanly possible, I'm coming to Britain. As soon as humanly possible.
I'm nervous. And plus, we want to go together, and timing with school and stuff.
What's Mrs. VTH's name? Her name's Tara. So this is not something we think about when it comes to the Christmas truce, is that these guys are walking out into no man's land for this truce, and there's still bodies lying all over the place. So that kind of had to have been a first priority, right? You're not going to enjoy Christmas together while, here's my buddy that you just killed still laying here. So, that certainly complicates things a little bit.
Completely different, but somebody mentioned something about the printing press and how it would, where was it? Something about history, and yes, like that would be there right up here. Sometimes history changes due to things like something unexpected, like the printing press.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like we watched all those. What were they, like the men who made America or whatever, and how things those are
sometimes inventions change the world. In incredible ways.
Exactly.
Sides buried their dead in common graves, grieving side by side in joint services, listening to the faraway sounds of battle from other sectors. And that shared experience broke down the wall.
That's what I was going to say. They're the only people that understood what the other ones were going through. Yeah.
And joint services is particularly interesting, having memorial services for guys that you killed. There's a lot of stories of this happening after wars where people get together and they're like, hey, we're not enemies anymore, But in the middle of the war to have that happen, and you have to think, and I'm sure they'll address this, about how hard it had to have been for these guys to go back into the trenches and shoot at each other afterwards.
Yeah. Well, and even like you said, when they went back home, nobody understood what they have gone through. So to have somebody that understands that shared experience and to just kind of vent and.
Her nickname is the Great Tara.
Terror is what. Remember when there was the war on terror?
When George W. Bush was president, he pronounced it the war on terror.
I got that a lot.
And so we always joked with her about that.
Okay. I have to go. Bye. Sorry, Joe Mama. Joe Mama. Love it. Joe Mama.
Opinion on Theodore Roosevelt? Best president we've ever had. Also, a certified bad you-know-what human being. No, he wasn't a jerk. No.
Oh, no.
He was just a tough SOB is what he was.
Out together in no man's land, swapping overabundant gifts from home. British beef for uniform buttons. Chocolate cake for barrels of beer. They exchanged hats. One German barber gave haircuts.
This is after?
The men chatted. After all, they shared so much in common.
That's not a good idea.
They lived in the same fields under the same rain, and they were equally sick of war. Besides, they were curious. What was life like on the other side? Who were these enemies? One British officer was perplexed to learn that his new German friend believed the armies of the Kaiser fought for freedom. That was impossible, the officer responded. We're fighting for freedom. Amid this, Lieutenant Hulse found himself talking to Lieutenant Thomas of the 15th Westphalians, who had something to pass on. A Victoria Cross and a packet of letters. An English officer had died in the German trench during the last attack. Perhaps he could give these to the man's family? Touched, Hulse removed his own silk...
So,
that's amazing.
The guy had been killed behind enemy lines. And so they were returning his effects, his personal effects. Including Victoria Cross, which is like their version of the Medal of Honor. So he had it on him. So they gave it back to the British and said, here, give this
he already had it on.
He had it with him, yeah.
Oh, I thought they were
He had one he had been awarded already. And they were returning it. And there was a lot of this that went on throughout the war, shows of respect to the dead of the enemy side. When the Red Baron was shot down behind Allied lines, they had a full military funeral for him. When Quentin Roosevelt, who was Theodore Roosevelt's son, was shot down behind German lines, the Germans gave him a full military burial, were very respectful of him, things like that. Let's see, there was somebody, Umberto, thank you. And who won the soccer? There were multiple soccer games. There were at least 30 that we know of, and each side won. And a lot of places, it wasn't even a full game because they didn't really have a way to do a field. They would just do like a kickabout kind of thing.
Completely not history, but if we're tying this into like situations that I have in school counseling, this is typical of two kids I have come in, or 3 or 4, that are being bullied, and now we're finding a common interest because they have a common shared experience, and now they're becoming friends. This is how life works.
Yep. Yeah, it's easier to connect with the guy in the trench opposed to you than somebody back home who has no idea what you've been through.
And they're learning about each other now. They're curious.
Yep.
And
it's interesting, like he said, that they're finding out why the other guy's fighting, because you get in your mind why you think that guy's this guy's fighting to invade France and take it over. And you talk to the guy and he's like, no, I'm fighting for the Kaiser for our own freedom. And they're like, wait, no, you're not. That's what we're fighting for. And interesting.
It was interesting.
And yes, there were snipers in World War One.
Scarf, a gift from home, and presented it in thanks. Thomas, embarrassed that he had nothing to give in return, sent a soldier to fetch the fur gloves that his family had sent. Up and down the line, men started bringing out footballs. Kickabouts broke out, with men from both sides chasing the ball among shell holes and sliding on the frozen ground. In one sector, a group of Highlanders challenged a Saxon regiment, who burst out laughing whenever a kilt flew up during play. But not all of this...
And why would they burst up laughing when a kilt flew up during play? Because these are true Scotsmen.
It was too cold. Don't you at least wear your pants under there?
These are true Scotsmen, which means under those kilts...
In the winter?
Nothing.
Shrinkage.
Yeah, big time shrinkage, yeah.
This activity was goodwill. On both sides, a few used the gatherings to reconnoiter enemy trenches, and both sides used...
Yeah, and that's interesting. He said a few used the gatherings. This happened, if you saw my series from Vicksburg, when I talked about the truce that happened at Vicksburg to gather the dead in no man's land and bury them. Some of the Union officers were using the truce to gather the dead as an excuse to get close to the enemy lines so they could see how things were lined up. So even though the common soldier is thinking about a truce and getting along, you still got some people who are smart enough to think, you know what, when this is over, we're still going to have to invade and we're going to have to fight these guys. So anything I can do to get myself a little advantage, I'm going to go ahead and do it while we're at it.
Fair point made, Tara. Whatever that was.
Callum knows NFL. Love from Scotland. What part of Scotland are you in? Zach Mills says shrinkage. LM. Yeah.
To repair dugouts. Of course, for some, this fraternization appeared false. One British soldier flashed his squad mate a hidden dagger, while another refused to smoke German cigarettes, fearing that they might be poisoned. When one squad of Bavarians discussed whether to meet the British, their corporal snapped at them. Such a thing should not happen in wartime. Have you no German sense of honor left at all? They weren't surprised. The night before, the same...
Wait. I wonder if this corporal is the corporal that we think it might be. When I think of a corporal in the German lines who didn't like the truce, I think of a guy with a funny mustache later.
I think of a guy who had a bad haircut. Look at those sideburns.
Take off the sides of this mustache later on, and I think that's who this is, but we'll see in a second.
The soldier had refused to join the unit's Christmas service. Corporal Hitler was odd like that. But his disapproval reflected the general's view. This was exactly the situation that Field Marshal French had feared. Commanders dispatched senior officers to threaten disciplinary action and insist that the men restart the war. In some sectors, the armistice came to an orderly close. Officers from both sides saluted and fired revolvers into the air, signaling that, all right, the war was back on. In a few places, troops resisted until nearly to New Year's Eve, but the generals would not have it. German command dispatched snipers to break the ceasefire. French ordered an artillery barrage, letting the machinery of war roll over the human connections of the frontline troops. Nothing like this Christmas truce would happen again. The generals wouldn't allow it. On Christmas Eve 1915, British officers ordered a 24-hour artillery barrage. Men who tried to form a truce were court-martialed. Machine guns.
So the following Christmas, thank you, Lucas. So you see... One of the ways that the officers are keeping this from happening, they order a 24-hour artillery barrage. So the entire Christmas day, there's artillery firing. So there's no way you're coming out of your trenches because you're hiding in a hole somewhere while the shelling's going on. So they made sure to put things in place so there was not a Christmas truce the following year. Because remember, there's still 1915, 1916, 1917. You have Christmas on the front lines.
Okay, stop for a second. Harry, thank you for clarifying that. But just to make a point, who does this video? I've seen these before, but
this is
the work
extra
that's
history.
Into these,
yeah,
he draws all this, right?
Yeah, they have somebody who does it.
There's so much work to this.
Yeah, I've probably done more reactions to their stuff than any other channel.
Very well done.
Mm-hmm.
Drowned out German carols. But the generals needn't have bothered. The spirit of that truce was unique to 1914, a symptom of a young war. By Christmas 1915, those troops had experienced chlorine gas and creeping bombardments. Zeppelins were bombing London. The Battle of Verdun would end just before the holiday, leaving 750,000 casualties.
Colleen, another woman showing up.
Woo, the
Love
women
it.
represent.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that, Colleen.
Cute, huh?
Love having women here, not because like it's women, yeah, baby. No, because I love that there are women that are interested in history.
Yeah.
We're getting this one to come around a little bit.
Listen, although I do watch it because you're so handsome.
Anyway.
If it works. Someday we'll do a poll to see how many women are here for the history and how many are for the cuteness.
There's more attractive people on YouTube if that's the only thing they're worried about. Joyeux Noël is, it's a good film on the subject. Joyeux Noël just means Merry Christmas in French. Interesting point he makes there, because we were just talking about, what is that? Is that a stink bug on the webcam?
Oh, it is. It looks so... Oh, what are you going to do with it?
I'm just going to get him off the webcam.
Just get him hang... Okay.
Anyway.
Don't let him go away.
So... By 1915, the British homeland is now involved in the war because they've been sending Zeppelins, blimps, over the channel to bomb cities in England. It's the first time that you have aerial bombardment happening in England, so it definitely changed things for them.
I love that this is from a different point of view, because we were just watching Sabaton's recently, because I don't know, one of our friends
Christmas
reacted,
Truce,
because Jen reacted on it.
Yeah.
Just Jen reacted on it. And it was interesting to see how she reacted to it versus you reacting to it, to that video, to this, to see how very different elements that could be added and give more to your knowledge from. So, very cool.
Mark, je parle français.
I do like your...
Un peu, I think is how you say
your husband,
it.
but I'm here for the history.
I'm glad, Leanne. I would rather you were here for the history than for me.
Please don't call them barbarians. Please, I'm from the same ethnic group as them.
He's talking to somebody else.
I thought it was something you said.
Polska in Space. First of all, fantastic name. And I love Poland. You guys know I love Poland. Thank you for that.
I'm a hetero man, and I'm here for the face. Oh, wait, you meant him.
He's got a man crush. I'll accept it. Man, 70 mile per... Yeah, it's windy outside here. Last dying breath. Yeah, we will get to it.
Welcome to
Aquila, that just became a member, monthly member on YouTube. So
cool, right?
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that.
I'm learning.
All right, let's finish this one up.
Yep.
React to my first reaction.
Oh boy,
that's okay.
Many of the men who celebrated in no man's land that day would never see another Christmas. One of those unlucky ones was Lieutenant Sir Edward Hulse, who had sung carols and given a German officer his silk scarf. He died 3 months later while trying to save a wounded comrade. He was 25.
Oh, wow.
This is one of the things I love about Extra History, and I'm trying to learn from their example in my on-site videos. I love they're telling the story of a big historic event, but they make it a story, right? And they tie it into individual stories. And I'm trying to do that with my individual, my on-site things, because everybody's going to know about what happened at the Somme, but you might not know about this particular guy who's buried in this grave. So let me tell you his story of what happened here, that kind of stuff.
30-mile-per-hour winds in Northeast Ohio. Told you.
Yeah, it's windy out there.
My lights aren't getting up today.
They might.
Yet, Hulse is not remembered today for his military achievements, or even the book of letters that his friends published after his death. He and so many others are remembered for a victory entirely their own, when a group of brave men ventured into the line of fire, trusting their enemies not to shoot, and believing that humanity was better than the bonfire it had built for itself. Happy holidays, everybody.
That was great.
And that's a great point, and I've mentioned this before in stories like this. Just because you're in the midst of inhumanity of war does not mean you need to lose your humanity. And you hear this from, obviously I've never been in combat, so I don't know, but you hear this from people all the time who served in wars. A lot of them say, I never hated the guy I was shooting at. I was just trying to stay alive. I was just trying to protect my buddy next to me. But it was never personal, and any chance they got to show that humanity to one another, they did that.
Yeah. I'm going to leave you.
Okay. Have fun.
Thanks, guys. It's been fun. You boost his ego. It's so cute. Keep doing it.
What? Get out of here.
We appreciate you all.
There's a part 2 to this one?
Oh, there is? Oh, no. Save it for me. We'll do it another time.
Okay.
Together, if that's okay.
There is. Letters from the trenches. Okay, so yeah. So that's what I was talking about, how a lot of what we know about what happened comes from these letters that guys wrote home. So there you go.
Oh, Niles is out of electricity.
Oh, their power's out?
Yeah. So she might come here. But let's do that together sometime.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll do that one another time. Gordo Gamer, thank you. Appreciate that. Jazzby, I'll have to check that out. Have Mrs. Oh, that would be a good one to have her react to, the falling of World War II. We could do that sometime.
They might not want to see me. It gets kind of boring when I do stuff.
Yeah, internet's been a bit of a rough go here, too. Let me check my messages real quick. Oh, they got to do a meter change on our water meter. Interesting. Okay, we'll do Q&A for a couple minutes, and then we'll do another reaction video. We've got 700 people in here. That's awesome. Gallipoli? Oh, I'd love to go there sometime. Siege of Vienna by Extra Credits. I'll probably do a different channel this next time. The presidential tier list is going to be redone, but that's going to be a collab video with me and Mr. Beast. We're going to do that together. So that's coming. Hey, Devin, what's going on? Polska in space. Thank you. I'm not going to do a Sabaton video just because of copyright issues. That'll be I'll do that as a separate video. I don't want to demonetize the whole stream. Henty Histories, thank you, appreciate that. You started a history channel too. Very cool. I'll check it out when I get a chance. Lane, thank you. Mrs. VTH, we appreciate you both, your husband, for all the entertainment. I'll make sure to pass that on to her. Mustafa, thank you. Who dat? But the kiss answered, yeah, that's my wife. Not Mr. Beast, Mr. Beat. Sorry. I wish I could do a collab with Mr. Beast. I would never have to worry about money again. OSP. We could do an OSP video. All right, let's go to them and pick one out, shall we? Wait. While I'm thinking about it, and I'm going to mention this later. Haphazard, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's go over to my friend JD for a minute because I want to show you guys something on... by the way, if you haven't already, if you guys like my historic site videos, definitely check out the History Underground. I think the best historic site videos on YouTube. And I'm learning a lot from JD about how to make my videos better.
Ahead of us.
But I'm going to show you, he's been to Normandy like 3 times in the last year or something like that, and I'm very jealous and angry with him that he keeps going, and I haven't been there once yet. But JD was doing this visit here, and I just got to show you this because I got to give him a hard time about it. Let me see if I can find where it is. Oh, it's not this one. It was an earlier video. Hold on. I got to find the right video. I don't think he's still here, but I'm going to give him a hard time about this anyway. Maybe it was that one. Hold on. No, it's this one here. All right, so JD was in Normandy, and he's got this Normandy series going on right now, which you guys definitely have to check out. He's got a ton of content from Normandy, and it's really good stuff. But he was at this, I think a command bunker. And first of all, I have to say how impressed I am that he was able to climb this ladder. The glorious beard, yes. JD can grow beard, I can't. I'm a little jealous about that. Oh, there he is. Hey. So we're going to watch this just to give JD a hard time since he's here. First of all, I'm very impressed that he was able to climb this ladder and hold his camera. And you have to understand, guys, when I do on-site videos, I'm holding my iPhone, right? I usually have it on a stick. He's got a legit, actual DSLR camera that he's doing this with. So
that means that I am going to see if I can hurt myself in this thing holding a camera like a dadgum moron. But let's see.
So it's impressive he pulled this off.
I feel like I'm going up in a...
He's climbing the ladder with one hand while he's holding his camera with the other.
Oh, this is gonna be cool. Okay, let's set this down.
Here it comes.
Here so
I think it's right here.
He doesn't fall and hurt himself. Oh. Oh, man, just smoked my dadgum head. Oh.
So, credit to JD for not editing that part out, but he smacked his head real good. But check out the view from up here. It's really cool.
Right there in that little bend. That's the son of a gun that got me.
All right, well, I think I may have raised a dadgum knot on my head, but man, it was worth it because dang.
That was a cruise ship there. That's cool.
At the view that you get from up here.
So, yeah, definitely, guys, check out his stuff. He's got a bunch of stuff on Gettysburg that's really good. Normandy, a bunch of other places that he's been. Definitely worth your time if you like that kind of stuff. Looks like Tyson Fury. So JD, from the time I first discovered his channel like a year ago, I've always been really just love his stuff. Not only because he and I are about the same age, we both have similar backgrounds, similar interests. We're both Christians. Yeah, and just have a lot of the same interest in history. So just it's great to we talked about during that video. Knowing other people who do what you do and being able to connect with those people, connecting with people like JD and Matt from Mr. Beat and Mr. Terry and now Indy Nidell, who, if you guys didn't see, I posted on YouTube. Indy Nidell reached out to me the other day, and we've been corresponding through email. So big fanboy moment for him. And of course, connecting with Gary Edelman from history, the historian at the American Battlefield Trust. Jorge, do I have any knowledge about the South American War? No, I need to learn more about South American history. I don't know nearly enough about it. But thank you for that. And thank you, unofficial dislike button. Battlefield 1. Yes, I've played Battlefield 1. That was probably my favorite Battlefield. JD's got a huge love of history of Band of Brothers just like I do. And he's been to, he just did one the other day. Where he went to some of the sites where the guys from Easy Company did pictures. Yeah, this one here, the Finding the Famous 101st Airborne Photo Locations. He's got stuff from the Easy Company, foxholes in Belgium. He went to Brecourt Manor. He's been to a lot of Indy Nidell is very pog. I'm most interested in my own country's history and then probably England after that. How would I describe Grant? First-class human being, excellent general, sometimes a little too trusting of the people around him. Jerry Platypus, thank you, from Finland. We will definitely be doing some Winter War stuff from Finland for sure. All right, another reaction. Let's do another reaction. We were going to go to Overly Sarcastic Productions. All right, so we have to find something good from them that isn't non-history. So something, anybody got any recommendation for a good history video from theirs I should do? New ancestry videos. Glasgow Ranger supporter from the West Midlands. Adam, that's awesome. You're my spirit animal. My favorite period of U.S. history, the American Civil War. I'll show you just why the Civil War is so interesting to me. You guys hear me talk about, how I love connecting things to my own history. So this is my list of my Civil War, my direct ancestors who fought in the Civil War. So these are not like uncles or cousins. These are like great-great-great-grandfathers. So I had 3 in the Kentucky Capitol Guards, 2 in the Confederate 5th Kentucky Mounted Infantry, 1 in the 13th Kentucky Cavalry, and then all of these other ones you see there. So I love retracing the steps of my particular ancestors. All of their being salty over Rome is hilarious. Max, I thank you. Appreciate that. I had that list on standby. Yeah, it was open from, I was doing some research earlier, so it was still open on my computer. All right, so see, a lot of these are not history related. That's why it's difficult for me to find. European and American history. Let's go there and see what they've got on their playlist. Oh, here we go. History summarized. That might be a fun one to do. Pope fights. A collab. Well, Indy did say he did let me know where he's going to be for some upcoming content he's doing, and he did invite me to come out and meet him. So, yeah, hopefully we'll make something happen at some point. We'll find a way. I will get Indy on this channel some way, somehow, now that I've connected with him. And the craziest part was that when he reached out and he commented on a reaction video I did to his Great War channel, I looked and I realized that he had been subscribed to me for 11 months, which means Indy has subscribed to this channel since I had like less than 10,000 subscribers, which is crazy to me. Family friendly, Mark? I think so. I don't know if their stuff's family friendly or not. I can't remember off the top of my head. Pope fights? All right, Pope fights it is. This will be something I don't know a lot about.
When you look at a pope like our boy Francis, you might reasonably think that being a good person is a prerequisite for being the holiest guy.
No.
You might imagine that the Pontifex Maximus would never be the type of person to leverage their divine responsibility for such earthly trifles as material gain or political expediency. Well, to that, I say that you have clearly never seen a good old-fashioned pope fight. Pope fight? Yes, pope fight. So, for the next 9 minutes, allow me to take you back in time to a simple...
So, yeah, real quick before I get back to this video, snapshot to history. Yeah, Indy said that they're going to be in Normandy in June. Not sure that I want my first experience in Normandy to be in June when there are people everywhere. But they're going to be there doing like a minute by minute of the D-Day invasions. And that was actually what he reached out to me about, was saying, hey, we're going to be there. If you want to come and meet, that'd be a great time to meet. But I am planning to go to Normandy with JD whenever that trip happens, sometime later next year. So,
simpler time, when the Western Roman Empire had disintegrated and the land around the city of Rome itself was governed by the only guy in town who had any semblance of power, the Pope. For over 1,000 years, the Papal States ruled over the center of Italy while overseeing the religious life of all of Europe. While today's Pope is almost solely a spiritual leader, the medieval popes were functionally kings, and boy, did they act like it.
Yeah, there were popes that would ride around in armor, and they were more earthly rulers than they ever were spiritual. And a lot of times the popes were appointed for political reasons. You cannot even begin to compare the Pope today to what the role of Pope was in those days.
With the stage set, let's go down to the ring for tonight's first Pope fight! In one corner, he's lean, he's mean, he's 20 years old and became Pope through bribery and nepotism. It's Benedict the
He's 20 years old and became Pope through bribery and nepotism, and that is pretty much the story of the popes in the Middle Ages.
9th. And in the other corner we have... Wait a minute. Why are there 3 popes here? Who approved this schedule? You know what? Okay, whatever. So, Benedict here didn't actually care about doing all of that complicated Jesus stuff, and he used the office to enrich...
That complicated Jesus stuff. Austin Roberts, thank you. Yeah, there's biases in your list. They're all Republicans, or they would be considered Republicans today. But that's pretty normal.
His already monstrously wealthy family. 8 years later, and the Cardinals decided that they didn't want a greedy toddler for a leader, and they got him out of office the same way that he got in. Bribery. A priest named Giovanni fought gangster with gangster and made Benedict an offer that he couldn't refuse. Basically, Benedict sold the papacy, and Giovanni became Pope Sylvester III. Okay, so that's a pretty sacrilegious thing to do, but at least we're done, right? No. Time for round 2. So, 3 brief months later, Benedict decided that he wanted to be Pope again because he had so much fun defrauding the people of Rome the first time, so he marched an army into the city and declared himself as Pope again. But then, just a month after he handed the Cardinals a fresh new succession crisis, Benedict decided that he wanted out, again, so he could get married. His godfather...
This guy, and I don't know, if I'm the person marrying him, I'm looking at Benedict and thinking there's some commitment issues here. This guy can't even commit to being Pope. He's just using it for political advantage. What's he going to do with me as his wife?
Father became Pope Gregory VI, and that's it? No? Okay, round 3. It seems like beating dead horses was another one of Benedict's hobbies in addition to wholesale corruption. So, Benedict's wife-to-be noped right on out of there, and he decided that he wanted to be Pope again. Meanwhile, poor Sylvester is still out there sulking in the hills, so there are 3 people claiming to be Pope at once. To settle the matter, the Holy Roman Emperor, that is to say the German Emperor, rode into town and helped...
Yeah, and that's a good point to make. Holy Roman Empire, whenever you hear that term, the Holy Roman Empire, think Germany and northern Italy. That's basically the Holy Roman Empire at this time. It becomes Germany. In fact, when Hitler talked about the Third Reich, what he considered to be the First Reich was the Holy Roman Empire.
Held a council, where he found Sylvester to have no legitimate claim, Benedict to not even slightly be worthy of being pope, and Gregory guilty of simony. All three were tossed out, and a German bishop became Pope Clement II. But wait, there's more! A year later, Clement II died, and who else but Benedict came strolling back to the Vatican for term number 3. 6 months later, however, the Holy Roman Emperor had just about had enough of the antics, so he swiftly excommunicated and exiled Benedict for good.
So imagine excommunicating another pope. That's about as hardcore as it gets right there.
Cardinal called him a
And I should mention, for those who aren't familiar, excommunicated basically means that you cut them off from any connection to the church, which effectively in Middle Eastern minds means you're not going to heaven because you're cut off from not only from the church but from Christ. So excommunication was a big, big deal in a lot of people's minds. It meant not only were you cut off in life, but you were cut off in eternity too.
From hell in disguise as a priest, which is pretty hardcore, especially for a priest. But honestly, to me, the most shocking part is that he didn't try for a 4th time. Benedict definitely qualifies as a meme pope, words I never imagined saying back to back. Given this colossal mess, it might be little surprise that the Greek Orthodox Church of the Byzantine Empire broke off from Catholicism for good just 6 years later. Well, there you have it, folks. The final score for our first Pope fight is Benedict 3, sticking to a decision for more than 20 minutes, 0. Okay, but now we're done, right? Oh boy, check the timestamp, kiddo. We're just getting started over here. So, let's move on to our next Pope fight this evening, and there's no one here. Well, see, to avoid the bribes, murders, and nepotism that had plagued the papacy for a few centuries in general, and the past few years in particular, they developed what we now know as the Papal Conclave, where popes are elected by secret ballot to ensure a peaceful transition of divine authority through what in theory would be a just and capable line of popes.
So if you remember a few years ago, I don't know how long ago it's been now since we had a new pope, but when Pope Francis became pope, they had this whole papal conclave. So they bring in all of the cardinals from all over the world, and they lock them up in the Vatican, and they meet and they vote. And if they don't have a pope declared, then they kind of talk for a while, and they chill and go to dinner and all that stuff, and then they vote again. And once they have a pope, and every time they vote, if they don't have enough votes for a new pope, they burn all the ballots, and there's black smoke that goes up, which means, oh, no pope yet. But then when they actually do have a pope, they burn the ballots, and this time it's white smoke, and that's how they know they have a new pope. And then they unveil the pope to the world. And that's kind of how it happens now. Michael, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I would love to get to your beautiful country sometime.
So this worked out pretty well for a couple centuries, but in 1292, 2 warring factions of cardinals drew out the conclave from the usual couple weeks to 2 entire years. For 2 years, the Papal States were without its ruler, and Rome was a mess. In the confusion, a hermit monk wrote to the conclave, warning the cardinals that the almighty hand of God would dope smack the eternal salvation out of them if they kept screwing around all decade long.
Would dope smack the eternal salvation out of them. In other words, excommunicate. Thomas, thank you. I appreciate that, sir. Appreciate all your support.
And as it happened, the cardinals were so impressed that they elected him pope, marking possibly the only instance in which anyone was hired by telling their interviewers to go to hell. I mean, hey, if it works, it works. So this monk becomes Pope Celestine V, and he proceeds to do nothing. Yeah, honestly, he was kind of a stooge. The only thing he ever really did in his first 5 months was help out the French allied king of Naples by appointing his mooks to church positions. Oh yeah, did I say first 5 months? I meant only 5 months. When it became unavoidably clear that the ascetic monk that had no relevant experience in running a complex bureaucracy wasn't good at his job, he went to the cardinals. And they said, "What is your first decree?" He said, "I want to be allowed to quit." Alright, what's your second decree?
What is your first decree as Pope? I want to be allowed to quit. Man, I mean, this is a job that there are people out there who would literally kill to have, and this guy's like, meh, not really my thing. Don't really care. Don't really want to do this. Can I go home now?
Decree. I quit. Honestly, it makes sense. He never even wanted to be Pope in the first place. He just wanted somebody to be Pope to end the deadlock. But be careful what you wish for, because Boniface VIII became the next Pope, and he wasted absolutely no time throwing Celestine in jail. Reason being that no one had ever voluntarily abdicated the papacy like that before, and Boniface had reason to believe that someone or another would challenge his authority and try to install Celestine back in as an anti-pope to oppose him.
So this is interesting because we've talked about this before. This kind of thing happens whenever you have, because by nature, kingship is usually something where you only inherit after your predecessor is dead. When it doesn't happen that way, your predecessor is always a threat. So if somebody gets overthrown or abdicates or leaves, flees the country, those kinds of things, there's always the threat that someone will want to put them back on. So imagine, like today, we have 2 living popes because we have Benedict XVI, who's still alive, but stepped down, and that rarely happens. So imagine today people being like, I don't like Francis, so what if we went and got Benedict and put him back in charge? So this guy is proactive with that. He sees that happening in other places, and he's like, throw him in jail the minute he steps down, even though he hasn't really threatened in any way, because he's trying to kind of get out in front of any potential threats.
The obvious solution was to cut out the middleman and just toss Celestine in prison. Boniface then proceeded to undo all 0 of Celestine's actions. He mainly just cleared away his appointees and left only the very small clause about popes being able to retire. Whether Celestine died of straight-up murder or just the fact that he was 81 years old and in prison, Boniface basically sentenced Celestine to death. Although honestly, when faced with the choice of being dead versus being Pope, I'm pretty sure Celestine got what he would have preferred.
He's like, I would rather be dead than be Pope. That's kind of like, I use this all the time. I don't know if you guys know what the number 1 fear in America is. I don't know what it is around the world, but in the United States, the most common fear is public speaking. Number 2 is spiders and snakes and other crawly creatures. Number 3 is death. So I always make the joke that if people are at a funeral, they would rather be in the casket than be the one doing the funeral. Because more people fear public speaking than fear death itself. This Pope would probably rather have been in jail or dead than be Pope.
Being Pope is work. And at the end of the round, it's responsibilities 1, wanting to just go home and take a nap, 0. But who's this entering from the north? It's King Philip IV of France, and he's not happy, folks.
Excusez-vous?
Boniface and Philip feuded privately and publicly for years. At one point, Boniface wrote him a letter that literally opens with, "Listen, son," which is the respectful papal way to say, alright, looky here, dumbass, you're way out of your league, and if you don't shape up real soon, I'm gonna excommunicate your sinful ass so hard you'll wish I only imprisoned and maybe murdered you. So anyway, Philip IV carried on exactly as he had before, and when Boniface prepared an order of excommunication against the king, he sent French thugs to assault him, the Pope, in his own hometown, and he died within 2 weeks. Philip ordered a hit on the Pope.
That's pretty hardcore. Putting a hit out on the Pope. This is one of those situations where you're trying to exert your authority. And, people always talk about Henry VIII as the one who basically kind of cut himself off from the Pope and said, we're doing our own thing. But Philip is obviously just like, whatever. I don't know what time period we're talking about with Philip IV here. I'm not up to date on my French kings. So let's see where we're looking at here. So he's king from 1268 to 1314. So we're talking right about the same time that things are happening with William Wallace in Scotland. So this is the time period of like King Edward I of England and then Edward II. Dang, dude. Who's the guy that said, yeah, I'll do it? Or a group of people that when the king said, I'm looking for somebody to take a hit out on the Pope. I mean, first of all, how do you even ask that question? Because immediately you got to think that some people are like, I'm going to tell the Pope you said that, and you're going to get excommunicated.
Gaul! Pope murderer Philip then manipulated the papal conclave to elect Clement V as the new pro-France Pope. At the end of the second period, that's French king who's way outside of their lane, 1, Murder Pope Zero. And speaking of, that brings us to our sponsor for today's video, Pope Zero.
Pope Zero.
0 calories.
Oh, man.
Now back to the fight. It's after Clement steps into the Pope fight that things get even weirder. Philip, still high on his victory and ballsier than ever, decided to test his luck and yoinked the entire papacy itself out of Rome, out of Italy even, and moved it into Avignon, France. Starting with Clement, the Catholic Church operated in France under the authority of the French king.
Yeah, and I did know this happened. I didn't realize it was under the same king. They're like, forget this. Not only am I putting a hit out on the Pope, from now on, the Pope's going to be in France, not in Italy anymore. That's gutsy stuff right there, man. That's hardcore.
For 68 years. Mind you, that whole time, the literal papal states were popeless. After almost one metric human lifetime of lavish living in the pocket of the French crown, Pope Urban V and his successor Gregory XI fought bitterly against the College of Cardinals to restore the papacy to Rome. The Cardinals at this point had nicely settled into eating 10-course meals while everyone else in Europe was actively dying of plague. Because that's a thing now, not that they would have known that being cooped up.
So Skelliger makes a good point. Someone was willing to take out Thomas Becket on a shaky request that probably wasn't even a request. What he's talking about there is you got the King of England who appoints Thomas Becket, who's like his best friend, to be the Archbishop of Canterbury, which is the leading church figure in England at the time. Thinking that the Archbishop of Canterbury was going to now be an ally. Because at that time, the church had their own courts, their own separate legal system. So, if a priest committed a crime, he wasn't tried by secular authorities. He would have been tried by the church. And King Henry didn't like that he didn't have control over that. So he wanted his best friend to be the Archbishop of Canterbury. He gets him appointed, and then Thomas Becket immediately takes the job seriously, which Henry was not expecting. And so at one point, something happens, and Henry is, I think, in France, and he's complaining, and he says, well, no one ribbed me of this turbulent priest. And a couple of his knights were like, did you hear that? He just asked us to kill the Archbishop of Canterbury. Let's do it. Which wasn't necessarily what he did, but they did. They go and they murder him right there in the church. And so it was a big problem for Henry, and he had to go and basically like show penance and lay on the floor, and he got whipped, and he did all this stuff to show he was sorry for the death of Thomas Becket. Hannes, welcome, and thank you.
Up in the purpose-built palace of Avignon all century. But anyway, that's okay now because Gregory moved the papacy back to Rome, and even though it's definitely worse for wear after 70 years of functionally no government, the church set about restoration projects to fix stuff. Now that was all well and good, but Gregory's successor, Urban VI, turned out to be, well, kind of insane. As soon as he became pope, he started...
How does one be kind of insane? I think that's a nice way of saying he was probably insane. Ordnance, thank you. Yeah, we will check out some cynical historian for sure. And presidential tier list, I'm going to be doing a video with Mr. Beat around President's Day in February where we're going to do a new tier list together. So that'll be coming.
Started locking up his opponents. You know, like a fascist. This was awkward because most of the cardinals were still French, so the obvious strategy for the half of the church leadership that didn't like Urban for obvious reasons was just to run off to France and elect Clement VII as their pope. Their argument was that the new Roman popes were an illegitimate offshoot of their rightful Avignon line. The Roman cardinals believed that independent of Urban VI's personal qualities, he was the rightfully selected pope. And at the end of round 4, our score is real Pope 1, faux Pope 1, but in French. So we've had popes retired.
Faux Pope 1, but in French with the accent on it. Yeah, I will get to some more of the Napoleon's marshals. We'll get to that for sure. Kings and generals who are subscribed to this channel, I will definitely be doing more of their stuff too. Probably not Sabaton Hannes. Benjamin, that's the first thing I thought too when I saw Hannes. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Had former popes contesting with current popes. We've even had murder popes and
murder popes.
But now, Christianity saw two entirely separate papacies in Italy and France, each believing that the other was a one-stop shop for every lawless heretic on earth. At this point, St. Peter's probably thinking, guys, what the hell? But Jesus is just omnisciently snacking on popcorn, loving every single minute of the drama. This, ladies and gentlemen, is no ordinary pope fight. No. This was a full-on pope war. Two entire papacies competed for nearly 40 years, branding the other as anti-popes. Needless to say, it didn't reflect especially well on the church when a pope is condemned as a heretic by a different pope.
Yeah, how does that work? And what do you do? Because basically now you're forcing everyone to choose sides. If you condemn the other guy as a heretic, now everybody's got to treat that person as a heretic or show that they don't support your decision. Yes, I've done some Kings and Generals reactions, and I will do more for sure. Operation Tannenbaum, was that the planned invasion of Switzerland? I don't really know much about it other than that. Murder popes will ruin your day. Is that anything like murder hornets?
This went on for a while, and neither side budged, as you can imagine, but finally, cardinals from both sides met in an attempt to reconcile and succeeded in electing another anti-pope. I lost count of the rounds of this pope fight a while ago, but this is honestly getting ridiculous. The mess was mercifully concluded at the 4-year-long Council of Constance, where the second anti-pope was deposed, the Avignon anti-pope had his claim dismissed, the Roman actual pope resigned, and a new pope, Martin V, was elected by the combined council, and now we're done. Well, there were...
And all of this goes back to the time of Charlemagne, when the pope first really gained a significant amount of authority over earthly rulers and influence in politics and things that were happening. Otherwise, people left them pretty much alone. So now people have a lot of reason to be involved in who the Pope is and having influence with the Pope. And if you don't have influence with the Pope, well, maybe you just get another Pope. That was all forced into that situation because of the politics involved.
Few anti-popes tooling around for another couple decades, but nobody cared and it wasn't a problem. As far as European Christians were concerned, the seat of the church was permanently re-established in Rome, and all of the popes between then and 2013 served for life, the way God intended. That was the year Benedict XVI became the first pope in almost 600 years to voluntarily resign, and thankfully he did so without an accompanying pope fight.
And there's a movie, I think Netflix did a movie, I think it's called The Two Popes or something. I don't know exactly how historically accurate it is, but it's really interesting. You've got Anthony Hopkins playing Benedict, and I forget the name of the actor, but he looks just like Pope Francis, the guy who plays the president in the G.I. Joe movies.
Take one last look at the scoreboard, folks. At the end of the fifth and final round for the evening, it's lasting dignity of the medieval Catholic Church, -7. That's one for each succession crisis. And meme capacity of the medieval Catholic Church, maximal. Whew, that's gotta hurt. All told, though the fighting did stop, papal mischief in general continued in various forms for another century. Between the moral depravity of the Borgia Pope Alexander VI, the Medici murder conspiracy abetting Pope Sixtus IV, and a lot of indulgences being sold to finance the Renaissance reconstruction of Rome serving as the...
Indulgences is a big thing, and that is, he talks about the sale of indulgences to raise money to build St. Peter's. The sale of indulgences was basically... give money to the church and we'll get your dead grandfather out of purgatory early. That kind of thing. I mean, that's oversimplifying it, but that's basically what it was. And it was one of the things that drove Martin Luther to issue his 95 Theses. He was so angry over stuff like that. And one of the things in that 95 Theses was, if the Pope has the power to free people from purgatory, why wouldn't he just do it instead of only doing it in exchange for money? And it was an excellent point that he made about that.
The final nail in a solid gold...
Sir Anthony Hopkins.
In the making, it may be a little surprised that...
And Jonathan Pryce is the guy I was thinking of.
And Luther famously said, quote, "Screw this, screw the church, I'll do it myself, don't at me." Harsh words. But still, as far as the complete abandonment of spiritual responsibility for material luxuries goes, you just can't beat a good pope fight. Finally, and this is basically irrelevant, but it is deeply important to me that you're aware Pope Francis has a rock album. Yes.
It's deeply important for me to let you know that Pope Francis has a rock album. All right, let me catch up on a couple of things in the chat. I don't know much about the history of India, unfortunately. I need to. If I had a time machine, what time would I put myself in? Probably the Civil War era. From a safe distance. I'd love to meet Grant. I think Grant's probably the historical figure I'd want to meet most. Do I have Instagram? Yes. It's right there on the screen. I just realized you can see this chair in the green screen my wife was sitting in. Yeah, it's right there. Instagram.com, vlogging through history. And when I go on my trips, like in this upcoming trip, fingers crossed that I'm able to go to France. The stink bug's back on the webcam again. Go away, dude. I post a lot of pictures and little video clips and stuff from what I'm doing. Do a collab with Sabaton. Hopefully, that'd be great. I would have gotten to meet them when they came here for the concert, but they weren't doing any meet and greets because of COVID. So next time I go to a concert, hopefully I'll be able to do that. All right, we'll do a little bit longer Q&A, and then I'm going to wrap this up because I think my wife probably does need me to get the Christmas decorations out and probably hang some Christmas lights outside. Vatican have a soccer team? I did not know that. That's very cool. I'm definitely going to a setup tour. Once I get this room organized a little better, sure, I'll definitely show you guys around a little bit where I am. Yeah, it would be interesting to meet the Founding Fathers and see what they look like and sounded like. Yes, Jonathan Pryce was in Pirates of the Caribbean. I did watch Passion of the Christ. I saw it in theaters when it came out. I look like a person who should be in a smoking jacket and a nice leather chair with a pipe. No, I'm in like a $10 Walmart shirt and a gaming chair that people on the channel bought for me, on my gaming channel bought for me. I have heard some of Johnny Horton's songs. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation light setup. No, nothing that cool. I'm not that good, especially on a windy day like this. Worst U.S. president, in my opinion, and why? Andrew Johnson, because he basically screwed the future of freed slaves and their descendants. Probably had more of a negative impact on more people than anybody else in American history. I don't know if I'd want to meet Henry VIII. He'd probably find a reason to have me thrown in prison or beheaded. CGP Grey, I'll check that out. Am I going to Dunkirk? Not during this first France trip. This first France trip, I'll show you the. Let's show you the plans for this first France trip. All right, this is where I live. All right, so and keeping in mind that all of this is determined by whether or not COVID screws up my plans. But as of now, it's a go. Marty Griff, thank you. Are there any battles in either American continents during either World War except for the River Plate? Yeah, I mean, there were other naval battles in South America besides the River Plate. But I can't think of much outside of naval battles, really. All right, so I'm going to be arriving at Charles de Gaulle Airport at like 8 in the morning. First day, I'm going to be driving. It's about an hour drive to get to the area around. Or my first day is going to be spent with the Second Battle of the Marne. So we're talking about Chateau Thierry, Belleau Wood, and stuff associated with that area. From there, I'm going to be going to places like. And this is, I'm just oversimplifying. I'm showing you the highlights. At each of these places, there's multiple places I'm going to stop. So Lost Battalion, and nearby to there is where Hill 223 is, where Alvin York earned his Medal of Honor. Lane, yeah, I could check that out sometime, and thank you for that. So we're going to check out that stuff. Then we're going to go from those places and spend a couple of days in Verdun. So that'll be kind of on the way. You can see here, Lost Battalion, Hill 223 is right in that area too. There's a lot of stops along the way I'm going to be making. Going to go to Verdun. Paulus, thank you so much. Most patriotic act by normal Americans. Boy, I don't want to get in the habit of judging patriotic acts, but there's been a lot of them. Maybe some other people can answer what they think. But yeah, I'm going to spend a couple of days in Verdun. Originally, my hope was to go from Verdun to Luxembourg because I really want to visit the Luxembourg American Cemetery where General Patton's buried. Some of the members of Easy Company are buried there. And then go there from there to Bastogne, which is right up in here. And then from there over to the Somme. But I decided as I was looking at it that I wouldn't be able to do these places justice if I tried to do too much in 1 week. So after I go to Verdun for a couple of days, I'm going to go from there to the site of the Somme, which is over in this area here, where the Somme battlefield is. So I'm not going to get up to Ypres, for example. I'm not going to get to the kind of the Belgian front in this war. It's going to be basically Second Battle of the Marne, which is a lot of the American involvement in the war. It's going to be Lost Battalion, the Argonne, basically, those places. It's going to be Verdun. It's going to be the Somme. A real quick pit stop on my way back from the Somme to Paris to stop by to see the 44th Division Memorial in Havrecourt. My closest relative who died in World War II was my grandma's first cousin, Harry Wilson, who was killed with the 44th Division in Havrecourt. So I'm going to go to their memorial there on my way back to the airport. So that's basically the overview of my trip. We'll see how many videos I get out of it. I'm expecting to make at least several videos a day worth of content. All depends on COVID permitting the trip, though. But the plan is February 1st through 7th, I will be in France. So we'll see. What do I think of the Spanish-American War? It was the U.S.'s excuse to involve itself in imperialism. That's the reality. What movie did I most recently cry while watching? Ooh, that's a good one. Last night, watching the movie, it was like a docudrama about the Somme. Oh, so good. And oh my gosh. And somebody commented, I did a post asking people for their input as far as like these World War I battlefields and how much time I should plan to spend and things like that. And somebody made a comment. They said that being at some of these places is like you can just feel that the happiness was sucked out of those places forever. And that's kind of how I felt watching the Somme. Just devastating. So yeah, that was a most recently one for me. No Paris sightseeing on this trip. No, I'm flying into Charles de Gaulle, but that's it for Paris. I will definitely get to Paris, but that'll probably be a family trip because my family wants to see Paris. So I'll save that for when my family goes along to see those sites. My daughter really wants to see the catacombs. Of course, we want to see Napoleon's tomb. I want to visit Lafayette's grave in Paris. A lot of those places. You're from Aachen? Yeah, Aachen's a place, Hannes, that I definitely want to go to. That's where Charlemagne's tomb is. I want to see the cathedral there in the worst way. I will get to Caesar's Civil War by Historia Civilis. Opinions on Lenin. Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of Lenin. Favorite power in all of human history, the British Empire. Lincoln wasn't trying to rearm Fort Sumter, he was trying to resupply it. Lincoln knew what he was doing. He was trying to get the South to fire the first shot. Thailand's role in World War II, I'd be interested to learn more about that too. I have seen Hamilton. I have a 2-hour stream on the channel. Just Google or just search for Vlogging Through History Hamilton. You'll see I did a walkthrough of every song in Hamilton and the history behind those. Favorite non-home state, Kentucky, although my family's from there. So, Fahad from Saudi Arabia, very cool. I'm glad you're here. My opinion on Hungary. Well, everybody that lives in this house is Hungarian except for me, so I'm definitely interested in Hungarian history. My wife's grandfather was 100% Hungarian. No salmonella, not today. Have I ever visited Monticello? No. Kaiser Wilhelm II, weak ruler, let himself be run by his military leaders. Messi or Ronaldo? Definitely Messi. George VI, one of my all-time favorite monarchs. Huge respect for George VI and his story. I do play Football Manager, Kobe. I love Football Manager. You know what? Let's do this as the last thing for this. I'm going to show you my Steam gaming collection. I'll show you guys what games I have on Steam. Yeah, rough time for Kentucky. My family's from Eastern Kentucky, but it's Western Kentucky that definitely got hit in the worst way. Would I like to have met Napoleon while he was in power? Napoleon's a very interesting guy to me. All right, so last thing we'll do, I'll show you my Steam collection, my games. Ataturk, also a very interesting leader for sure. I learned a lot about him when we did that series on Turkish history. All right, here we go. Here's my Steam library. I don't know how easy it'll be for you guys to see it. But, yeah, on some of these are my kids' games, but most of them are mine. But I'll show you all the Football Manager. I've got 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, and 22 now. So Among Us is my kids, but most of these are mine. Age of Empires. Arms Trade Tycoon, I'm going to do some playing on my gaming channel because that's a really cool game in the making. Axis and Allies Online, I just downloaded. Banished is fun. Bomber Crew is a fun one. Buzz Aldrin's Space Program Manager, I played a lot. City Skylines, I like a good city builder. I have several of those. City States, one of those. Crusader Kings, one of my favorite games to play right now. Hannes, my wife's family is from Saho St. Peter, which is in the northern part up near the Czech Republic, I think. Or no, up near Slovakia. Dawn of Man's a fun one. Empire of Sin is a Prohibition game. Europa Universalis. Field of Glory. Football Manager. A lot of Civil War games. Grand Tactician I'm playing a ton of on my channel, my gaming channel right now. I will play some more Crusader Kings 3 on the channel at some point for sure. Humankind is fun. That's kind of like Civilization. Hell Let Loose is pretty intense and a lot of fun. Don't have it installed at the moment. Played a lot of Hearts of Iron 4. Hold Fast is a fun one that I've played a lot of. Favorite Paradox games, probably Hearts of Iron 4. Kingdoms Reborn's fun. Life is Feudal. Lord of the Rings Online I've played a lot of. Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord's a lot of fun. Operational Art of War, Order of Battle. Like my Bible for studying World War I battlefields right now. It's Major and Mrs. Holt's Battle. All right, sorry about that. The wind just really picked up, and when I opened Steam, it started downloading updates, and it slowed down my connection, so we're good now. So let me go back to what I was saying before. Once my signal comes back fully here. This is going to be a huge part of my visit to France. It's called Major and Mrs. Holt's Battlefield Guide to the Western Front. This one's Western Front South. There's another one that's Western Front North and includes places like Ypres. But it's got full color pictures. It tells you every place that you can go. It gives you guided tours and tells you how long it takes to get between each place. It tells you exactly what you'll expect to see at those different places. It's divided up by different battlefields. And it's become my go-to, and I'm going to be using a ton of their stuff in making my videos. It's really good stuff. Austin Roberts, I wouldn't say it's a stupid take, because I think Mr. Beat's a smart guy. I do disagree with him on that, but I wouldn't call him stupid. He just has a different view of it than I do. But with that, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to try to do more streams, guys. I haven't streamed as much as I'd like to, but we're going to get to it. And we're going to also be doing more private streams for our members and our patrons. So even if you sign up at the lowest level, you will be eligible for those. We do a lot of like Kahoot gaming, trivia games and stuff like that we can't do with a larger audience. So we'll probably be doing another one of those in the coming days, and I'll announce that to all of you. So